So we have the wonderful Peace Amadi. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right. Amadi. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's right.
Yeah, Amadi.
Yep.
Amadi.
Yeah, you get it.
No, that's good. That's good. I like it. You did good.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being on.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah. We have it's been going. We've been rolling quite a few episodes, and actually we're getting a lot of good feedback. I love what's happening, and to have you on, it's like another edition. And I know that you just have a lot to share from what I've seen. That's going to be good for people, especially for women.
Yeah, that's my primary audience.
Right. So I like to say first, like, what would you say is your expertise?
So on paper, I am on paper, I'm a clinical psychologist.
Right.
I got my doctorate in clinical psychology. Yeah. So I'd say I'm an expert in mental health just by nature of what I've been trained in. But being a creative as well, I kind of like to say instead that I'm an expert in seeing people. So just kind of seeing where they are mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and yeah, just what their potential is, like where their greatness lies, where their brokenness is, the things that they might need to overcome to really be all that they're supposed to be. So yeah, I see people, but not like in a weird, scary way. But I mean, that's what I'm trained to do. That's what my intuition is, geared towards. So yeah.
Dr. Peace. I think that's awesome. And you've been, how long have you known that because essentially you're working with people. That's what you're doing. It's people all day.
Yep.
So how long have you known that you wanted to do that? Did you know that for a while?
It was always, because growing up, I was always that person that people would come to with their problems, or even people would come to with their dreams, like, Peace, I have this idea. For some reason, I was always that person that people wanted to talk to when it came to really personal things. So I wasn't sure as a kid what it was about me that drew people to me in that way, and that kind of made people feel safe and comfortable. But as an adult, I've been able to understand some of my strengths as a person. And of course, the training has come along the way. And I feel like it's always been that way. It hasn't always been professional. It hasn't always been official, but there's always been that tendency for people to feel comfortable talking to me about what's going on, and talking to me about what they want in their lives. So I've kind of owned it and made a career out of it.
Yeah. What's like, because you know what though, I've always wondered, like when it comes to being a clinical psychologist, like what are some of the craziest things like you've seen? I know you had to see some crazy stuff.
So to be fair, of course, when I was practicing, because I'm not practicing right now, I'm a psychology professor full time, but when I was practicing, I've seen everything. My job is to talk with people and help people out of literally mental illness. Yeah. So I've seen the whole gamut, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I would say, outside of illness, the things that have been most interesting to me has actually been the work I've done with couples. Now that has been really interesting work to see couples in sort of the throes of their craziness. Like I've seen and heard all kinds of things.
Okay, so all right, so we're talking about couples here because this is really good. So when it comes to couples, I'm sure you've gone through and worked with enough couples to like see a pattern.
A pattern.
Are there specifically there's certain patterns that you see? Like I know, for example, in the ER, I see so many patients that there's pretty much like a nice, good, less than 10 buckets of people that people fall into.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most common issues you see, when you've been working with couples?
Yeah. Two things for sure. Trust issues for sure. Sex, money, and things from the past coming up and replaying themselves in relationships. I would say those are the four things that couples struggle with the most, or the things that if a marriage, because I dealt mostly with married couples coming in, to break a marriage, it would be one of those things: trust issues, money issues, sex issues, and not knowing how to deal with childhood issues that are replaying themselves in the relationship.
Oh, so what sounds like what you're saying is oftentimes people aren't aware of what their past and how it's affecting them now.
Yeah, absolutely. And out of all those things, I would say that that's probably the most problematic, is not being conscious of what you're bringing into the relationship, not being conscious of what it is that could trigger you and why it is triggering you and why you're having such a strong reaction to someone. If without that consciousness, the relationship really struggles. The person really struggles. It's really, really important to have an awareness of how your past has affected you, because it does, and there's no shame in that. But you need to be conscious of that so you can try and make the best choices possible given your makeup, given your history, given your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
We all have stuff, but it's the consciousness and awareness that really separates the people who do well in life from the people who don't.
And when you mean consciousness, how would you put that in layman's term? Because you got to break that down.
I know.
You gotta break it down.
So, for example, knowing that, let's say you're a woman who didn't have a father figure, and you really crave.
Do you see that's common though?
Yes. I mean, daddy issues are common for women and men. I mean, it's a big issue across the board. It's
right.
I get really excited when I see good dads, because I know how crucial it is to have a present and emotionally responsive father. Of course, that is not in your control at all as a child. But when you become an adult, you have to take ownership of the fact that not having a father figure, this is an example, but it is something I've seen, has affected you in ways and made you vulnerable in ways that could affect how you relate to men, and kind of like a neediness and an overdependence, because you finally have that male figure, that male attention that you wanted your whole entire life. And so, and the reverse is also true. There'll be, when guys, have lacked something in their childhood, they will also have an overdependence or a neediness in their relationships that they think is normal, but maybe too much for the person that they're with. And if you're not aware of that, if you're not aware of how much your past and your past wounds may be putting unrealistic expectations on somebody else, then that could jeopardize the relationship and just kind of make you look crazy. You know what I mean? And you may not be crazy, you're just not walking around with an awareness of what's impacting you.
Right. And so, not even have that awareness at all.
So I think that's the word, consciousness, just an awareness. Like, I'm vulnerable to this. I have these tendencies. I have this really deep craving that, I just have this really deep craving, and I need to know that. I need to know that what I crave could be something that is beyond what a person could give me. And so this, if I were to continue this,
it's like
down this
another
road of,
conversation.
Exactly. Just how much we put on people.
That's another episode.
I'll be back.
Wow. Yeah. And I've said this on a previous episode, and I said that from what I've learned, because by no means am I a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
But from like some of the courses I've done, seminars and workshops I've been in, I've learned that, like, for a guy, for example, for me, my relationship with my father determines or lack thereof affects my identity as a man, right? Yep. And then my relationship with my mother, or the lack thereof, affects the way I relate to women. Yep. Right? Yeah. And you were just saying that. And then likewise for women, right? The relationship, let's say you have with your your mom or lack of it affects identity.
Yep.
And then with dad, it affects how you view and
no, and that goes back to, I mean, I don't want to get too into this, but that goes back to like Freudian framework, and just like what we learn from our parents, how we learn to be who we are in our, like you said, like our identity, in addition to that, our sexual identity, by looking, I mean, that is very much based on the same sex parent, you know, like what is a woman, what is that supposed to act like, be like, sound like, whatever. And then what is a man, and how am I supposed to relate to this man, or what can I expect from this man that comes from how you dealt with the opposite sex parent. And there's exceptions to every rule, but you'll see, if you really got introspective or did some psychoanalytic work, like officially, you would see those connections pretty easily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look, I know we're still on this topic, but man, this is a hot topic right now.
Really?
Come on. Yeah, it is. Yeah, people, man, because I just gotta say this again. I've gotta add this to it too. Like me personally, I've been in relationships where what I see is, and obviously as a guy, look, I'm not perfect. Of course, I've got my own faults, right? But what I see is, it's almost like, it's what I've seen other people call unrealistic expectations. Okay. But what I'm gonna say is, it's like there's no, how do I say it? It's like I don't think they have a healthy frame of reference of what to expect from me. Okay. Yeah. And they expect things that the only place that I see it is in a movie. Okay. Like I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to throw rocks at your window and have flowers and sing to you. You can't throw. I mean, I could do that, but if I don't, I'm not doing enough as a boyfriend or as someone I'm not doing enough. Sure. Like it's almost like that is supposed to be some sort of norm, like a standard. Sure. And yes, that might be an interesting example, but it's kind of like that. Yeah. Like, and I would say, first of all, I've seen that. And I would say that is in part because of maybe what was missing in childhood, but in part because of the narratives, unhealthy, unrealistic narratives that are pushed about love and relationship in media. I mean, you're not going to see a ton of movies with a lot of real and actual portrayals of what love and relationships look like. You know what's weird? There was one video that I felt like did a really good job, and it's funny because it was it was both creative and I think dark at the same time. Rihanna, we found love in was it a broken place? We found love in a hopeless. Hopeless place.
The crew knows.
I don't want to say the wrong thing.
We found love in a hopeless place. That is kind of dark, but I think it's more accurate than a lot of what we see in film. And so, I mean, it's not like a hopeful picture or something like, hey, you want a little kid or, a little brother, a little son, my son, this is what love is supposed to look like. Right. But I think seeing things like that can be really validating, because I personally resonated. Like I have several times felt like I found love in a hopeless place, and could not let go of that situation. And that's because of my own issues and my own vulnerabilities. So, I mean, just to say, I feel you, and I can imagine that there's been some unfair expectations that have put on you, because that happens in relationship, and that probably comes from a number of things. Yeah, most number of things. But once again, this is we can make a mini series out of this. So yes. Love, broken love, all of it, where we get it, why it happens, all of that. So let's talk about what you have in terms of what you have going on in terms of your project. Okay. I know that currently you're building a brand. Talk to me about it. Yeah. So my brand is called The Pink Couch. Let me ask you, what do you think of when I say The Pink Couch? First of all, what is couch? That's a good question. Yeah. What is couch? The word couch connote to you? Connotation couch for me is like
cool, laid back, casual.
Okay. What do you do on a couch?
We're chilling.
Okay, you chill. Okay.
I'm chilling. I'm chilling on the couch.
What
I'm
else?
playing video games on
You
the
are
couch.
also a guy. Yes. So that kind of colors
I'm playing
it a
some
little
video game on the couch.
On the couch?
On the couch.
Okay. Well, might you think of like chit chat, like girl talk kind of stuff?
Do it look like
Channel a girl right now.
But you know what though? If I'm on the couch with
like we are right
a friend,
now.
yeah. If I'm on the couch with a friend, yeah, of course,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, good, because that was the right answer. And then pink, I mean, pink is a very bold color. It's often associated with femininity. So my brand is about pretty much getting to the heart of the matter, of the things that matter to us most, and specifically doing that with women. And I often say, like, it's my belief that we all want three things. We all want love, we all want to be happy, and we all want to be successful. Especially in this day and age, success has become this huge thing. It's almost like you're not doing life unless you are successful or getting towards, and that's just our culture right now. So love, happiness, and success. And I recognize that, particularly in women. And I also recognize the things that get in our way to finding love and maintaining a healthy relationship in love. And this is romantically and also with friends and family. Finding happiness / wholeness and becoming successful, like the blocks that get in the way. So my whole brand is about doing the work, doing the deep work, doing the emotional work, doing the psychological work on a couch or a virtual couch or a proverbial couch with women. And so whatever I do, be it blogging, be it the creative projects that I've started or working on, be it the talk show that I have shot, and we're going to see where...
With a live audience. Yes, you got a live audience.
You got to.
Another level. Maybe one day.
So all of that centers around that theme. Like, what matters to us, and what do we need to recognize? How do we need to overcome these blocks? How can we get what we want in this short little life that we have?
Wow.
So that's what the Pink Couch is about.
So
but it's multimedia, so like I said,
right,
all that stuff.
yeah, and it's good. I mean, these days, it's what I see is that you're just working to reach people through all channels.
Yeah,
because you have people who are readers.
Yeah,
like me, I'm not necessarily a video. I don't necessarily watch a lot of videos, but I listen to something. Yeah. I listen to a podcast. I listen and I read. Yeah, I love reading. Yeah, so
me too.
You're going to reach different people with that. Yeah. So I think it's amazing that you're doing that. I need to take some notes.
No, you're doing good. This is great. This is great. This is,
So tell me about how you, tell me about like the journey with even coming up with that. Like, did this spawn from your own personal experience or something you went through?
In terms of the Pink Couch or like my brand?
Mm-hmm. Was it inspired by it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everything we do in general is inspired by what we've been through or what we've seen, right? And so I just, personally in my journey have identified those things myself, wanting love, wanting wholeness and happiness, wanting success. And I've seen that just in so many women. Like, it just really comes down to those three things. But because of my own history, as well as what people have opened up to me, it's so easy to get in your own way. Self-sabotage is real. It's almost like we want these things, but we don't think we deserve them. We don't think, they exist for us. We oftentimes get caught in the scarcity principle, like there's just not enough to go all around, particularly with love. I'm just hearing a lot of women. So I'm in my 30s. Okay, you hear in other women in their 30s, they see other people getting hooked up and they want love, and there's just like immediate fear, like that there's no longer any good men just because there's people getting their dudes. But that's a scarcity mentality. Like, yes, there's stats and there's all these things that present some real issues to finding love, but I honestly believe that there is whatever you want is for you. Whatever you want wants you back. Right. So if it doesn't matter that other people are getting it. Other people getting it takes nothing from you, whether that's love, whether that's success, whether that's friendships, whatever it is that you want. So I've had to work through some of those fears myself. And again, in the stories that have been shared with me, I see the same patterns where it's just like a lot of fear, a lot of self-sabotage. And yeah, I was just like, you know what, there's something here, and I want to start like helping women and continue healing in my own journey. Yeah, like that. Well, that's the goal.
Okay, you said healing, so I want to know where in places that you've healed, and in places that you're currently working through in terms of your own healing.
And my own healing?
Oh yeah, you.
Well, I'm the psychologist. I'm supposed to be.
You're also a human
being. That's very true. No, I mean, I think that's such a personal question, but I think, and I have no shame in saying this, but I definitely have my own insecurities. I think we all do, and I know that a lot of mine have come from my history with bullying. So I was a very badly bullied kid growing up. I mean, yeah, just, the things you see in movies like that kids go through when they're bullied. Like I've been that. I've been that kid that's been tripped or like spit on and, called ugly very often. And just, it was just like a really bad time for many years of my childhood. So that leaves you feeling really, a little bit of that too.
Oh yeah, man. Oh. My brother's here. He knows.
Yeah. No, it's real. It's real. And
we had to fight off a lot of people.
Yeah. No, that's real.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
But that, I think one of the things that resulted in was just like this incredible self-consciousness, just like, because everyone's sort of attacking you for something you can't understand. Like the only thing that makes sense to you is like, I'm just wrong. Like, I'm not mean to people. I'm not, starting this stuff. So I'm just wrong as a person. So you just become incredibly self-conscious, like trying to figure out what is it about me that is inviting people to do these things and to say these hurtful things. And so even though the bullying stopped, the bullied kid continued, that self-consciousness that like, I just have to have everything all together, and I don't want to put myself out there. I never want to put myself in a position to ever be ridiculed again because it felt so awful. That kind of stuff just kind of locks you up, and there'll be things that you could do or you feel like you should be doing that you're so afraid to do because you risk being ridiculed, and you don't ever want to go back to that place. And so it took a long time to start putting myself out there with the Pink Couch Show, with all these things, because for so long I feared ridicule and criticism so much. I was like, I will never, I promised myself I would never go back to that place. But the thing is, you can't do that. The greatest things are obviously on the other side of fear. The greatest things that you can do in your life are going to invite some sort of criticism and ridicule. And I think, yes, it's understandable to want to avoid that at all costs, but you have to decide what you want more. Do you want to be the person that you can be? Do you want to touch the lives that you can touch? Do you want to maximize all the gifts that God has given you? Or do you want to let those negative voices win? You decide what you want more. So for me, the fear didn't go away per se. I'm still relatively self-conscious. People think I'm this confident person. I am, but I'm still self-conscious. But that matters less to me than me being able to live a life that I know is true to me. Like, I don't want to live beneath the piece of Amadi that I know that I was called to be. So I want that more than I want to be safe from criticism.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like you had to get to a point where your back was against the wall so much that you were tired of the status quo. Like, you were tired of the where you were and not being where you want to be.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, and I feel like for me, it's interesting how that happened, because you're right. I don't remember an exact moment, but I do remember a feeling that I would feel when I would see people, whether it be in my life or in media, doing things that I know I could be doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
It's such an annoying, frustrated feeling where you're literally watching somebody live a life that you know, I don't want to say should be yours because everyone has their own journey, but you're watching somebody thrive in a space you know you can thrive in.
And not to be necessarily conceited or anything, or narcissist or anything like that, but it's like, I look at sometimes, you know, in the past, I'm like, are
just
you
like
serious?
that. No words necessary. Just
I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I could easily do that.
Easily, right. Like yesterday, like 5 years ago. So yeah, I can't remember an exact moment, but I can remember feeling like that, starting to feel like that too often, like more often than not, where it's just like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not pushing past these doors? This doesn't make sense. And I honestly feel like that came from God. I honestly feel like it was a spiritual divine thing for God to show me myself, but like in other people, and God to show me like spaces, because you feel it. You're like, you know, like I'm supposed to be like, that's where I'm supposed to be, you know, and it's a very strong, you can't shake it. And when it happens to you, like once that grips you, that feeling of like, I'm supposed to be there. Like I see my future and I'm here, but I'm supposed to be over there. You got to get going. You know what I mean? So that's what happened for me.
And so that just pulls you. So for a lot of people, because I'm just going to say this too. Over the years, you know, I've grown my business with Herbalife, grew that, become successful with that, getting into this, did nursing, you know, did all that. But throughout these years, you know, just like you, people have come to you to ask you, hey, so this is where I'm at in life. I'm stuck, or I feel like I am unhappy or dissatisfied. What, for the people that haven't, because I feel like I didn't get there. It reached a certain point in time for me to really feel so compelled that I could not stand to live another day without like going for it this time, like especially with this project, with this podcast.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks out there who are still on that journey. They are experiencing pain, they're experiencing unhappiness, dissatisfaction, but they still haven't reached that proverbial rock bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Like what would you say? Like what would you tell someone like that?
Well, would you want me to speak to the fact that they haven't reached rock bottom yet, or would you want me to speak to the fact that they know that they're supposed to be doing something that they're not doing?
Both. Because that's really hand in hand.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the things that I actually learned in my training was like the power of creating doubt, actually. And raising questions for people. So if I saw someone who I knew was living beneath their potential, I would kind of make them feel that even more. Like, you know, you're doing this, but you know what you really want to be doing. Why aren't you doing that? How long could you really live beneath what you know you're supposed to be? Is this the legacy you want to leave? So kind of creating that doubt, kind of poking a hole in this complacency, like they'll be okay if they just keep doing life, kind of poking a hole in this idea that they have all this time in the world, you know, just sort of creating doubt and
it's like you're putting it in their face.
Pretty much, yeah. But I'm trying to be nice about it. So that's what I would do, because it actually really personally hurts my heart to watch people live beneath their potential. Like, it's just one of my things. I know that spiritually, if I can get spiritual here, I know that one of my gifts is to help people become all they're supposed to be.
Awesome.
And so I just have this burden when I come across people that are living low when they have such a high calling on their lives. And I kind of make it my duty to poke holes in their little complacency and say, no, there's literally people out there whose lives are dependent on you becoming you. And you're just going to sit here and like feed your dog and watch Netflix for 5 hours a day. No, we're not. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? So when they get to that place where they're like, okay, I'm sick of it. What do I do? I'm also a very firm believer in one small step, like one tiny step changes can change the trajectory of your whole entire life. One small step, because with one small step, you begin to create momentum for yourself. One small step, you experience a little bit of success, and one small step, you become addicted to that feeling. And that keeps you going like, ooh, if I can do that, what else can I do? You know, so just take one small step, however small it is, experience success in that, and it'll be game over. You like, once you're addicted to a feeling, you're addicted to a feeling, you know what I mean? So you just got to hop that little bridge. I guess that's not one small step, but you know what I mean.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. And I'll say the same thing, that this is the case for me with this podcast is just a small step of, well, first doing a little bit of research, writing things down.
Yeah.
And then first, actually, you know what? It took me the longest to actually record something.
Yeah.
Yo,
because that's a big step.
I tried to do everything else.
Yeah.
Except for record.
Yeah. So what got you to finally record?
You know what? I think in our heads, or I'm just going to say for me, in my head, oftentimes my imagination takes over. And in my imagination, oftentimes creates a picture that makes it a lot more daunting than it actually is.
Yeah.
So for me, in my mind, I'm like, it's gotta be perfect. I have to say the right thing.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what? This is what how about I do this? Let me write something. Let me write a paragraph.
Yeah.
And get on the mic and read the paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's literally what I started with. And
That's
then
fantastic.
Yeah. So I just kept doing that. I was like, okay. Damn, I started to hear the sound. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then I got I was like, hey, roomie, my roommate. I said, let's have a conversation. Let's just talk.
Yeah. That's so cute. I can picture you.
I was like, let's just talk, man. Let's just talk, man. Talk to your boy, right?
Yeah,
so I got my mic. I put a mic on him.
Okay.
And then we just started talking. And I appreciate Ashford to this day. You know, that's the name of my roommate. But those little steps.
Yep.
It gave me that feeling of accomplishment after it when I would hear it. Not even when I was done, but when I would go back and replay it and hear, I'm like, yo, this sounds good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you created momentum for yourself because you experienced success, what you're calling accomplishment. You're like, well, that's good. And it felt good.
Yeah.
You know what
really
I mean?
good.
And then you want to keep feeling that, you know? So that's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The power of the small step, however little and however silly it may feel. I mean, if I tell you the things that I had to do to prepare myself to start.
Flashback.
No, I've literally in my adult life have set up lights and grabbed whatever little like figures, dolls, whatever I may have in my house and set them up like I am talking to people.
Wow.
Yeah, like real life. Like, and it's just what I needed to do to practice talking and seeing little eyeballs on me and like whatever you have to do. And, you know, it was silly, but it's what I needed to get to where I am. You know what I mean? That one small step. The little baby dolls. Whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? But that also helped me like practice camera setup and, you know, be kind of like a self-sufficient producer for like the scale of stuff that I was doing and I'm doing. So,
and then you learn the more you just do it, the more you grow in your skill. And all of a sudden you're doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden you got lights and cameras and a live audience.
You love my live. My live audience is lit.
It went from teddy bears to people
to actual people. Look at that.
You know what I'm saying? Look at God.
No, it was real live. I made jumps, man. I just want to be successful, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what's something that you would say people are missing? Like, piece of advice people are missing that they need to get ahead?
Okay, so I'll say the word and then I'll give background. Focus. And here's why I say this. Because we are our world today has made it so that we have a front row seat to everybody's life, whether we want to or not. Yeah. Whether it's good for us or not, whether it's a balanced, amount of time or not. So be it through reality television or especially social media, we're just confronted with people's lives all day, every day.
Yeah.
And when people are doing well in whatever aspect of life that matters to you, it can be discouraging because of I purposely say this, our natural tendency for comparisons. Comparison gets a bad rap. So here's a psychological thing. We you know, there's little quotes that say like comparison is a thief of joy and da 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 da. That's fine, and like I get it, but it also is very simplistic picture because we are natural comparers just in life. If we didn't compare, I actually spoke about this in my TED Talk. If we didn't compare, we would not be.
Well, hold on. We gotta hold on. No. You can't just randomly sprinkle that
I haven't even shared that little.
That you're in a TED Talk. Yeah,
I did a TEDx. Yeah, about social media.
Well,
I'm really passionate about this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta have another episode.
That's fine, but I'm really passionate.
Okay,
really
let's finish this topic.
And I talk about, like in the talk, I talk about how comparison isn't necessarily the problem. We're naturally comparers. Like the reason why we're inspired by people is we're making some level of comparison. Like this person is doing that. Oh my God, I would love to do that one day. That is a level of comparison. It's because we're natural evaluators. And the only way that we can kind of measure how we're doing is to have an objective measure. So that's comparison. So it isn't comparison in and of itself. That's the problem. It's the fact that we make, it's all the meaning we put on the comparison. So we say stuff like, oh, they're doing well. Oh, I'll never be able to be where that person is. Oh, they got a man. Oh, she took the last good man. Or, you know, they got an award. You know, I guess I'll never get an award. So we make those comparisons and then we put some really negative bent on it. That's the problem. But anyways, we're confronted. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
By chance?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my whole thing. Like comparison in and of itself is actually adaptive. It's the meanings we make with our comparisons that's the problem. So that being said, we're confronted with all of this stuff in social media and reality television of people living their lives. We make these really unfair comparisons about what's going on, how we'll never be such and such, and we'll never get such and such, and there's no more such and such left for me. And all of that is just a terrible distraction from what you're supposed to be doing. I always say, like, your destiny, your purpose requires 100% of you. 100, not 99, definitely not 77 or anything lower, 100% of you. If you're going to be whatever you feel like you're supposed to be in life, 20% can't be going to watching what Jennifer's doing. 13% can't be going to what Bobby's doing. You know, 9% can't be going to what Linda's doing. They ain't worried about you. 100% needs to be devoted to your journey in building the life you want. So what people need is they need to focus. They need to turn down the distractions. They need to get off people's pages, get off television, get off all that stuff, get inside and start taking those small steps that's going to get them to wherever it is they know they're supposed to be. Focus on your own path. Get all this other stuff out the way. It's hard to do, and you kind of have to fight for that because, again, we're flooded with everybody else's life. But if you're going to be anywhere, you got to do it. Yeah. If you need to fast from social media for a month to get yourself together, fast from social media. If you need to, buy off television for a month to write that book, do what you need to do. You know what I mean? So focus. I think people would be a lot happier if they just focused on their journey and their gifts and what they're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Sorry, that was...
Ain't no sorry here.
Ain't
no sorry here.
Yeah, I mean, that's just 100% of you. 100% of you. 100% of you.
And obviously you're speaking from experience. Like that's what you've done to get to where you are so far.
I am in the space often, social media. I mean, it's part of my business. I love social media, but I also hate it at the same time. And when I will literally time myself, like when I'm being good, I will literally time myself. Okay, Peace, you're going to spend 30 minutes scrolling and escaping life, and then you're going to delete this app from your phone and you're going to get your behind to work, because what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Watching so-and-so, so-and-so's picture of the new car does nothing for where I'm going. You know what I mean? Like, it does zero things. I mean, and it doesn't take but a second to say congratulations. So if my argument is like, well, I want to be there for my friends and support, cool, that takes you 2 minutes, not 3 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But if you sit there and timed yourself, how long you spent scrolling through people's stuff, literally this is hours and hours and hours, and you don't realize it until you kind of start timing it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So yes, I have gotten lost myself in social media. I have gotten lost in other ways of escapism, and I have realized that it takes from me. It gives me nothing. Zero. So I've learned what I need to do. I fast regularly from social media. I get myself together. I'm only in the space when I feel kind of just like mentally healthy and like I'm there to do what it's supposed to do, which is like, you know, engage with my audience and all of that stuff. But as soon as it turns into just getting lost in everybody else's life and how they have what I don't want, I'm off that joint. I'm out. I don't have time for that.
Well, that doesn't serve, and it doesn't serve you at all. Wow. Okay. I just got served.
No, why do you say that?
Served in a good way, in a very good way. I think people are missing that. And I think that's what, for me, that's what a big key is for my own success is that ability to focus, I put my phone in the room. Yeah. My phone's in the room, and I have like a desk, right? I have a desk with a computer, and I'm just on that. Yeah. And I take 3 hours. I was so fortunate though to get that from Nigeria, you know, being in Nigeria, because I went to high school in Nigeria.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh yeah. So literally every day, Monday through Sunday, for 3 hours from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., every student goes to their desk. We have a dedicated desk. It's like wooden chair, wooden desk. You take the lamps, you know, because there's no electricity. So, and you set your lamp and you set your textbook and you're doing your homework. 3 hours every single night. And I tell people, like, that has been my secret. Whenever I'm really trying to get to a goal, be it, you know, in college for nursing, be it in my business, you know, something new that I'm doing, I say, you know what, it may not even be 3 hours because you might not have the time. Yeah. But it's like, okay, for 1 hour, everything's gone. It's just me and this thing I have to get done. Yeah. And I just time myself for 1 hour.
That's so good.
Yeah. And
That's so good.
And then and what's cool is when you're intentional about it, what happens is you start to notice when you're distracted. Yep. So when you do grab that phone or you end up, all of a sudden you look up and you're like 3 tabs of social media on the browser. Yep. Like,
on the browser.
Okay,
when it's on the browser, it's deep.
You're like, okay, I need to get off. Oh, I'm supposed to be. Yeah. I'm supposed to be focused. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But man, that has done everything for me because it doesn't take much time to do the things necessary to succeed. That's what I noticed.
That's so good.
It doesn't take much time, but it
just takes concentrated time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's concentrated time, and then being consistent with the concentrated time.
Yep. Consistent concentration.
Ooh! Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But that's what that is. Mm-hmm. Wow, man. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So how do we find you?
How do you find me?
Okay, TEDx, conveniently left that part out.
Well, I mean, speaking of social media, you can find me on Instagram at Pink Couch Girl. You can find my blog at thepinkcouchblog.com. And I am currently building my YouTube channel. We'll be launching that so you can see a bunch of the video work that I'm doing. So for now, I would say social media and my blog would be a great place to connect with me and stay tuned to what Pink Couch Girl is going to be doing.
Pink Couch Girl, I like that. And it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
That's good.
I'm glad.
Good. Yeah, I'm working on that YouTube life too. You know,
yeah, you're doing it though.
We're growing, you know.
With that hour concentration, I mean, you could like straight up start like a boot camp with, you know, seriously, because that's a good training. That's a good skill. Yeah. What? Yes. Let me not. That's a business idea. Look,
nah. You know what I learned?
Talk about that.
Look, I share ideas, man, because 99% of people ain't gonna do it.
That's also
true. They will not execute. That's the issue.
That's also true.
Nobody executes. Ideas are everywhere, but
but I think that's that's a deeper issue. I think that's like what I was talking earlier about sabotage and just feeling like it can't really be yours even if you want it, because there's no reason not to execute. If you know that what you want is yours, you're not going to not execute. That's stupid. And people aren't stupid. They're just like, you know, affected by whatever it is going on mentally. So
Well, thank you. You just blessed this audience by being here. But I just want to acknowledge you also. Acknowledge you for all the work you continue to do for women. We even get to talk about the humanitarian stuff that I know that I saw, but you're doing that anyway through your work on a daily basis. So
thank you.
Thank you for stepping out, being you, working on being authentic every single day, and because it takes a lot of courage.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
So you know, I was serious about that next episode. So
I'll be here. Whenever you need me.
All
This
right.
was fun.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.